Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to review for you a brand new method book series for adults, Keith Snell's Piano Method for Adults. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. Also, I offer online piano lessons if you're looking for one. There's going to be information below, and I would like to say a big thank you to my patrons for supporting this channel. You can see their names on the screen now. So this one is the final episode in this three-part review. In the first part of this review, I was talking about the Repertoire series. In the second part, I was talking about Piano Town, which is the kids' version of the piano method. And in this final episode, I want to talk about the adult version of the method. So the reason why I said brand new is because it was actually published in 2024 in March. So only a few months old, this method. And as you can see, it has two books. It has book 1, which is the red, and book 2, which is the blue. If you know nothing about Keith Snell and his products, basically he has hundreds of piano books, and the most popular ones are the Repertoire series, which is basically a graded library of piano pieces broken into styles and eras, and there are lots of different versions like progressive, standard, and there's also a theory version of it, and there's also like a very beginning version of it, and there's Piano Town, which is the method, because the Repertoire series are basically collections of pieces. Now this one is, I think, a spin-off from Piano Town, because that one was published before, and I did look through both books from beginning to end. I played through, I read through, and in this video I want to talk about the actual structure of the book, the pros and cons and similarities, differences to Piano Town and other method books. So the first thing you'll see is that it only has two levels, level 1 and level 2. So the question is already coming to your mind, what are you supposed to do after level 2? Is that you? Have you learned everything about piano? Obviously not. So I did ask Keith Snell, because I couldn't see the information on the back of the books. After level 2, you are supposed to progress on to the level 2 of the Repertoire series, or volume 2 of the progressive Repertoire series. So what that basically means is that you learn every single basic concept, note reading and rhythms in these two books, and after that you are supposed to learn through repertoire and technical exercises. So basically after level 2 there is no more need for a quasi method book. You can just learn from repertoire, and after level 2 you have all the way up to level 10, so lots of levels and pieces to choose from, but this is basically your basics, everything you need to know before you can actually progress on with repertoire only. When I looked through the difficulty in these, comparing it to Piano Town, which goes primer 1, 2, 3, 4, I noticed that it basically has everything from primer all the way to level 4, so it kind of shrinks the 5 levels of the kids edition into 2 books for adults. Now structure wise, all of these books have 3 core things. They have lessons, they have theory sheets, and they have technical exercises, and obviously the lessons also have repertoire, because you learn through repertoire. Now that's the kind of layout of the book. It's a bit bright in here, and basically the one thing that I loved about the book right from the start is that it doesn't have any pre-notation, so you don't spend 20-30 pages playing by finger numbers, which I know many people prefer, because you can at least work on rhythms and you can get to know the names of the keys, but I personally do prefer books which start right with notation, and this one starts with notation, very basic notation in the 5-finger middle C position, and the first pieces, like for example here, are very basic, just trying to work around the basic note values and some very basic relationships and rhythms and melodies, and then you start learning to read by intervals, so reading seconds, reading thirds, and then that's how it basically develops on, so intervallic reading instead of memorizing notes. Of course you've got landmark notes as well, and then for each lesson you've got some technical exercises which are really nice, and you also have some theory worksheets worksheets where you can work on your theory, you can fill in certain exercises and so on. And at the end of the book, you've got obviously the answer sheet for the theories, and you also have some accompaniments. Now, all of these books come with support material. So if you go onto the website, there is a link at the start of the book. You can find accompaniments, and you can find play-alongs and some demonstration videos for some of the lessons. So there's quite a lot of support material if you're learning by yourself, but I think they were kind of designed to be used alongside a teacher, perhaps not completely alone, but they are suitable for solo learners as well. Regarding the pacing, I would say it's definitely one of the faster paced books. Comparing it to the other kind of modern-ish methods like Piano Adventures and Alfred's, I think this one goes a little bit faster. And by faster, again, just as I mentioned in Piano Town, I don't mean that the pieces get more difficult than in those methods. I just mean that the concepts are introduced at a much quicker pace and you spend less time on certain new concepts. So to give you an example, in Piano Adventures, when you introduce a new key, for example F major, the book can spend 20-25 pages on F major, learning about the scale and lots of pieces to reinforce the scale of F major and the primary chords of F major. In these books, whether it's Piano Town, the kids version or the adult version, you basically introduce F major, then you have 2 pieces, then you go on next key, 2 pages, and next key, 2 pages. You spend a lot more time on C major, the first one obviously, but when you start introducing new keys, majors and minors, you spend a lot less time on them. And also when you introduce new things like staccato and DC Alfina, you basically see the concept, you have 1 or 2 pieces and you go on to the next one. That means that if you are a fast learner or like a normal paced learner, whatever that means, like in the middle, it's going to be perfect because you're not going to get bored. You learn something new with every single lesson. But if you're a slower learner or you don't practice so much and you need a lot more reinforcement for certain concepts, then it's probably better to go with something slower like Piano Adventures, which spends a lot more time on certain concepts. Now, repertoire-wise, I would say it is very similar to Piano Town. Obviously, it's been re-edited to better suit adults, but many of the pieces are kind of the same in both. I've said this every single time when I talk about piano methods. You can't expect to find amazing pieces in the first book of any method series because simply you don't have enough tools to play nice things. So you have to go through, the chores of learning the notes and basic relationships before you can play something really fun. And the first book is kind of just going through intervals and intervallic little pieces with triads and broken chords and so on. By the end of the first book you start getting some nicer tunes, and the second book has a lot more material when it comes to performance pieces. When you finish this second book and you go on to the repertoire series, those are all pieces that you can perform anywhere. So I think the good thing about this structure is that you don't need to get through 5 method books which are dry and not so full of nice pieces before you actually get to play proper repertoire. You have to go through 2 books. You can do this as quick as you can, and then you just start working on repertoire. But the 2 books are enough to teach you all the keys. It goes up all the way to F sharp major and G flat major, so 6 sharps and 6 flats, all the keys major and minor, and then you can carry on and learn from repertoire. The pieces inside the book are mostly classical. You've got some spirituals and traditional folk songs and quite a few pieces written by Keith Snell himself, which are really nice, but you will not really find any pop in these books. So they're very classical based, but also kind of more the American style of pieces, the traditionals and spirituals and so on. Who should get this book and who should get another book? So as I already said about pacing, if you're a fast learner, it's a good book, or medium learner. If you're a slow learner, you might want to look somewhere else. Now, when it comes to chords and playing tunes, although the book deals a lot with primary chords, it doesn't deal so much with pop chords and lead sheets and so on. So if that's your primary goal, to get some, learn piano, learn some chords, learn to read the notes and then play songs from lead sheet, then I think Alfred's piano method is better for that. Piano Adventures, again, is more kind of classical-ish, but a very slow-paced classical kind of modern look to it. And this one is again classical but faster paced, but it covers less things on the pop side, more towards classical and traditional. The biggest benefit of this method is the plethora of the Repertoire series, but of course when you learn from a piano method you can supplement with any book from the piano repertoire. So it can be a different piano method, it could be just random selections from composers. You're not really restricted to any particular supplementary book, but it does come with a lot. So that's all about these books. I'm not going to play through any of the pieces because they are extremely similar in all of these books in level 1. It's very similar also to Piano Town, and there are so many that I don't know where I would start. But I could give you like an insight into something at the beginning of level 1 and something towards the end of level 2, so you can get an idea where you start and where you end up. So this one is somewhere around the second chapter of level 1. And here is something from the second book towards the end when we learn about the key of A flat major. It's a waltz by Johann Brahms, and this is an arrangement. So that's all about this method. I hope this gave you a little bit of insight about what you're going to find inside and how it progresses, what the structure is. As I said, it's very, very new, so you might have not heard about it. I believe it's a lot easier to find it in the United States, but through Amazon and other online retailers, you can buy it from anywhere around the world. If you have any more questions about this, leave them in the comments. If you'd like to watch the other 2 reviews about Piano Town and the Repertoire series, links are going to be below.